Well, we're live again. I'm trying to get back into a weekly broadcast. This is Wednesday. I've decided to go at 4 p.m. Pacific. I'm 4 minutes late. My instructors would be very disappointed with me. Yeah, it just works out that this is going to be possibly the best time for doing this sort of thing. Just going to go over some of the stuff that I have going on now, and just making sure that we have stuff actually happening. Of course, I'm set up as the wrong person, and there we go. And let's see if I'm actually here. Am I here? Yes, according to this, I am. Making sure that's off. And as you can see by the borders, I've actually changed things there. I'm still working on getting doing a drawing of a top hat that I'm happy with. That's going to be one of my future design projects. But this is giving the wrong name, though. Why is that? We should, it's not what I entered into the system. See if that corrects it. Because yes, the MK3 is working. And with that, this is one of the few times where I've actually turned it off. And just I can't type at all right now. There. Hopefully that has it covered. As mentioned, yes, I've been printing away. Now, some of the stuff I've been working on is if I can get this to go to the correct camera. And we're there. As you can see, I got a bunch of gaming pieces here. And I learned about this first from Nillabean on his channel. Back in the 70s, I lived on D&D. This was the very early version of D&D. But we had figurines. We didn't actually play with figurines within D&D. But when Brenna was here, some of the folks she met that were in her age group, I can't say kids, I hate it when you're getting that old to do that. Anyways, they played D&D, and they were talking about playing with figurines and what could be done, and Brenna was looking into that. So I thought I'd try printing some pieces, because this is sort of stuff that I wish I could get for model trains, and so I'm going to actually work with that. These pieces actually came from printable scenery, and I'll be talking about them some more. Printable scenery, they have a very good catalog. And if you have a look here, this is their site, printablescenery.com. They have boats, houses, yeah, this one's cool. That one's new, I think. It's a featured product, but a wide range of items. Now, one of the things that they do have is, let's see, where they have it. They have this Rampage system where it's a base pack. And here they are, it's the Rampage base pack. This one's free, so that's what you see down here. It has the connectors, different types of walls. Now, if you were to go and pick one of these up at a game store, a pack like this, you would buy a kit that would have maybe 5 of these, and you know, some wall pieces, what have you, and you might pay, you know, $40 for it. If you wanted more wall pieces, you went and buy more packs. Now with this, the thing is that with the floor pieces, for example, you have 2 types of floor, the narrow piece and the standard square. And with them, they you print out what you need. Now, you can't sell this stuff. This stuff belongs to them. If you get the kit, you can print it out as much as you want for yourself, but you can't print it out and give that to others. So that is an issue. One of the key things that this uses, and many other systems, is if you see these holes down here, it's a lock system. So if I can get to the right camera here, what we can do with it is, I'm just moving stuff around here so I can see what's going on. We have our walls here in the base. Now, on the floor, see, it has these slots. And that's what these clips are for. And the clips slide in, and then you can connect it to something else. And it snaps together, and I'm going to put those together. Now, actually, one of my learning curves for this is when you do the print, see, you have all these bars in there. Well, it's not obvious from their site, but what you actually have to do is, these are just supports for the print, and you snap those off in order to get a useful floor part. So the nice thing about that, this system, it's called the Openlock system, and it is open, freely available. You can get on the Thingiverse, and with that, you get on the Thingiverse, you can download a template for it. And I'm just seeing if I can find it here. I thought I had it open, but obviously didn't. But yes, here it is. If we go back on the Thingiverse here it is. It's all the templates. And see if we get a close-up. Seeing what they have here. Some new pieces. So you have this. That's the lock system and the edges, and you have a work surface where you do your designs. And they have a number of different patterns for it, which is, hey Rover, very handy. Use this as a base plate. You do your designs using this system. Then you can go ahead. There's a lot of different patterns you have. But once you have this, you've built up the artwork. You do your own artwork on it. Then you can print that off. You can sell those prints if you want, or you can sell your models if you wish as files. This one being a wall, you see they have pegs so you can go multi-story with it, which is quite handy. Now I'm just trying to see, I know I looked at one graphic here, it explained the work surface a little bit better. And that's what I actually had open, and I guess I went and closed it off. We'll zoom back. But not only can you sell that stuff, but it will connect to any gaming system that uses this Openlock pattern. So I'm going to be playing with this system, which is it? No. Going into different patterns here. And I'm not finding it. Okay. Anyways, you have your standard for the lock system, and then you have work surfaces so you can do your designs. So that's the system that's being used with these from Printable Scenery. And as you saw there, Printable Scenery has a ton of models, a ton of designs. So my best friend, the fellow I actually used to play D&D with in school back in the 70s, he still plays D&D, and he does figurines. So I'm going to do some of these up for him, just for the hell of it. So that's been one of the projects I've been printing away. And now I have to okay, that's interesting. Anyways, this has been fun. But with it, that's what I was using to dial in my MK3. And I was having problems, and it turned out it was Z height I had to tune in. So, as usual, I have a whole lot of misprints. But the nice thing is, these all have their basic bottoms here with the Openlock connectors. So what I can do is I'll just toss these into the bag too, because you seal off the top there and you got a shorter wall. Now, you may not use this, but maybe you can break it off or something. But so they're all useful parts. And with that, one of the things I've been working away at is trying to figure out, gee, if you're going to sell stuff, how do you come up with a price for it? And so that's been one of the things, experimenting with it. As I said, this Openlock system, you can't sell it. You know, it's for you to buy and print out yourself. But as I said, there's other components out there and other models out there that you can do, or you can design your own. So I had to figure out a way to, you know, price things. So for this one, I listed all the parts that come with the Printable Scenery Rampage kit, the free one. Put out how much time it took me to print it. Broke that down to minutes. Put down the weight and the filaments I was using. Of course, I was using possibly the most expensive filament I could, but that's one I had on hand. That's this Atomic Filament Black, which is a gorgeous filament. I love it. Figured out what its price was delivered here, and broke down the cost and came up. So if I wanted to sell one of these pieces, like this 4-piece, using, you know, this incredibly expensive filament, it would be, I figured, $2.84. That's none of my time, but printer time and filament cost. So that's a good way to come up with a pricing system. Now, I have the material cost. It's actually 26 cents with this filament. I actually have some inexpensive filament on the way. It should be here next week. The filament, it comes in bulk reels, and you load it on to your, well, actually it doesn't come on reels. It just comes as a package, and you put it onto your own reels. So that's much cheaper. So this one, as I said, calculated 26 cents. But with misprints and tuning up, it's always good to multiply by 3 until you're into doing a lot of printing, a lot of successes with a specific print. Then you can lower the price for that, because you're not dealing with misprints because you have things dialed in. So that's how I came up with a pricing system. And I'll be using that for a bunch of my other stuff. So for the printer, over here, I just calculated out what the price was delivered here, and figured out it was 1,000 hours. I thought was a safe bet. And so cost per minute, and I use that to go over. Now, some of the stuff, yeah, it's a shot in the dark. There's nozzle cost, there's electrical cost, what have you. I think by using the triple the cost, then you're actually going to cover that in fairly well. But I think, if I was a business, I would fine-tune this model even more to put in electrical cost, overhead, what have you. And that would be worked into this formula over here. But, and of course, there's the cost of your time if you're doing design work. And, these haven't put it in. A lot of this stuff I'm not costing my design work because, this is my hobby, it's not my business. But if you are doing parts and work for business, that's another expense you have to put in there. Now, what I did as a carryover from days of working in video production, if I was working in an area where I didn't know what I was doing, because quite often, especially when I worked for the Sony dealership, a lot of stuff we're getting was in beta. Is the best way to put it. It's not what they called it then, but I'd be one of the first people using it. But sometimes that stuff had already been sold to a client. And what we worked out for a price was my standard hour rate was fairly high. But if I found I was spending 3 hours trying to figure out things were working, and it was when I figured out how to do it, and it should have only taken me an hour, I quite often just billed for the 1 hour it should have taken me, and I ate the 2 hours it took me scratching my head to figure out how either the software or the hardware was designed to work. That was back with times with, hey Joe Mike, we were just transitioning from the wonderful world of tubes into the digital world, the first chip cameras, and then we're getting into the very early days of computer graphics. And as I said, there's a steep learning curve to a lot of that. So it's almost like the 3-to-1 time for dealing with misprints on the chart, except there's a 3-to-1 time, this column here. Instead of using that for materials, I was using it for time to deal with the learning curve. And this was a place, it was a time when I was doing that sort of thing, that when you got a hold of the programmers, especially when you got into the early computer graphics, and asked them about why things were working the way it was, they scratched their heads and said, well, we never thought that it could be used that way. We don't know. And so the users were actually ahead of the developers for a fair amount of the time. So, as I said, it's a starting point. It'll have to get refined. But, so these have been fun. Another series I've been working on, and may have the first one out shortly. Go into my trash bin. Check, check, 1, 2. Can you hear me now? I'm not seeing, yep, I'm seeing some levels change on there. I don't know what happened with my USB system here. Ah. Okay, I think I saw what happened with my other mic. Why is this coming up? Now let's see. Great reverb. Where's that coming from? Nothing like technology. That should kill it. Check, check, 1, 1, 2. No. How's that? It's the first time I've had this come up. Why did that happen? Yeah, and if you don't know what's going on, you can really mess things up. Check, check, 1, 2. Should have rid of the be rid of the echo now. So let me know if you can still hear me minus echo. Okay, now good. Now, what was I talking about? Oh yes, other things that I have on the go. If you watch, those of us, especially with the Friday night 3DP channel hangout, you'll notice that in the background we have these maker boxes, normally large stacks of maker boxes. And so you have bits of filament to play with, try out. Here's a couple of them that just have handy. So that's how it comes to you. So if you just toss that on the printer, then it's not good to have an open coil. You can have all sorts of problems. So if you actually go over to Thingiverse and put in Makerbox, you'll see style after style after style, things that people have come up with as solutions for this. Now, what I went with is this one by Strad INB, Strad INB, and this one very handy because it has separate inserts, so you can have different size of inserts for this. So my quick and dirty, here's an image of one of the inserts. So my quick and dirty series that I'm working on is basically having problems, doing a quick solve. Hopefully the videos won't be more than a couple of minutes each. I printed several of these, and I think Brenna got the first ones I did. But so you got two pieces, scroll them together, screw them together. Now I just had it together. There we go. Nope. Toss on your insert, and you're ready to go. So what I'm going to do is a series of quick things that I'm pulling off of Thingiverse or other places. Well, one of the key things when you're doing 3D printing is if you have a problem and you're looking for a solution, before you design your own, have a quick look out there, because if you have the problem, there's a good chance somebody else has the problem, and they've already done all the work. So if they don't have the exact solution for you, it might be an area to get your creative juices going anyway. So I hope to start getting those out by Friday. I'll do one a week, and the quick and dirty of the week. So that's another series that is on the go. Now I got another thing of loaned / given, and that is this thing. This is from XYZ Labs. It is their hand scanner. They have a hand scanner and Hand Scanner Pro. This is a hand scanner, and it took me almost a week to get this up and running. And matter of fact, it was yesterday that I got it going. And a lot of that, the first part of it was just trying to get a response out of XYZ, but when they did get back to me, their help was great. We finally got things going, and as I said, I got the drivers installed and got the whole thing up and running last night. So I actually haven't done a scan with it yet, but with that, let's see, there we go. What I really need to do is get a turntable up and running again. I had a few of them before I moved here, but there's stuff that disappeared in the flood, so I'll have to make some new ones. But with it, it's held sideways, and you got to move around your model. And as I said, since I just got it working yesterday, it was late last night, I haven't done much experimenting with it. They actually have a head mode upside down. So you gotta get the right distance, and I think the best thing to do would be able to mount this. So I'll make a bracket. Scan my hat, yes. You gotta get the exact right distance. Now, moving around by hand, that's not going to be a great way to work. But if I put this on a tripod and then I spin my chair, I should be able to get it to work. So that's another project that's coming up. So looking forward to playing with it. Actually haven't seen many reviews of it, but hey, the price is right, so I can't argue with that. What else we got here? Oh, I'm flipping again. That's a different. There, I hadn't noticed that. Sorry. But that's going to be a fun toy to work with. So I have that. I have the MK3. I have Raspberry Pi here. I have to install that, print out a camera mount for it. The one issue I have with the camera mount is where my printer is right now. And I got it right beside me. It's going to move to the other part of the room, but if I were to add a camera right here, it's going to be running into me during the prints, so I have to deal with that. But I do want to move it over, but I'm not going to make the move with the printer until the multi-material unit shows up, because I need to figure out exactly how much space that unit is going to take. Yeah, Lazy Susan. Just take that screen down. But what I went is Home Depot has a number of sizes of build plates, bearings, what have you, for Lazy Susan. And what I did for my paint booth while I was in High River was I had a couple of those different sizes, so I could just have a piece of plywood on top, and I can put my object into the paint booth and spin it. So I'll be doing the same sort of thing here, except I don't have a Home Depot in town, so I'm going to have to look on Amazon and see what I can order in. As far as I can tell, I haven't seen one at a local hardware store. I really should look there, just to buy local sort of thing. As I said, off the top of my head, I haven't seen one there. But anyways, for putting objects on there, scan it. I don't know how much you're going to use that scanner. Most of the stuff I do is design, but it's here, and we'll try it out and see what we can get. Now another thing, you mentioned Master Spool. That's the system was brought up, was it last week during the Friday night chat. Now filaments.ca use the idea, not the actual plan. There we go. And for this stuff, least expensive, decent filament I can get is from these filaments.ca. They call it Econofil. And here it is. So yeah, you get your filament by the kilogram, and you can actually get it by the 10 kilogram package, I think I saw at one point. But and then you put it onto the well, I call it 1K Master Spool. I don't know if this actually adheres to the Master Spool format. Joe Mike, maybe you know about that. But anyways, although I could have printed it, I just ordered 3 of them, so it comes together. I have 3 because that way it's easier to move between the filaments as I'm going through it. As I said, I got a lot of filament here, but it's all very good filament. And there's times where you just want to get the cheap and dirty out there, and so that's what this stuff is for. Yeah, I could have cut down the price if I paid a little bit more, but the budget wasn't there for it. Speaking of filament, there's another one I tried with, just going through what I had, and while I was doing the stuff for just seeing what that camera was doing here. Get on here. Now, one of the filaments I had on hand is this one here, and it is from Algex, not too certain how to pronounce it. So I've had this since I started, when I went and bought a whole bunch of types of filaments to try out. This one, it's not 100% L-dry. It's, I think, 20% L-dry. It's a PLA. The reviews I've seen of it is the out of print, fairly low temperature, and stringing is an issue. Now, I was trying to print some floors. I did a couple of tries with it. I got to spend more time dialing it in, as I just wasn't getting a viable print off with it. So I think the extrusion rate is something that I had to play with. But, and I was in a hurry to get other stuff done, so I pulled that out of the printer and just went back to my shelf and grabbed what I could from that. There we go. So I love the color, but I just have to, as I said, I have to spend time dialing that one in. So, that's the stuff I have going on. Of course, the SLA printer is been working away as well. So, that's more prints for others that I have to get out the door. That's what it's been doing. I received the new VAT from P.O. Poly, as well as some of their high temp resin, which I have to give a try, see how that's going. I haven't been in that room to do stuff lately. It's been more here getting design stuff ready. The last thing I'm going to talk about, I started the series on adding the printer mount, trying to replace my real fancy mount here. See if I can get a good shot. There it is, my real fancy system with the mic stand, with some elastic band and a Logitech camera just wrapped around with it. So part 1 is already up. Part 2 I'm getting ready to record. I have to do some searching. I did push this down again, and let's go to this was the first part 1, and that was just making something that was threaded that would fit onto the match the threads, fit onto the mic stand. So now that I have this as a basis, I can take this object and anything I want to put on the mic stand, I can model it in, and I got that attachment, don't have to worry about it. So the next part is doing the ball joint, and I've had to teach myself about ball joints, how they work and what's going to work for this. I've gone through that, so now I just have to record the video to show you what that's going to look like. And that's my project for tomorrow, is actually recording that. And the thing, I like live, because live you can just, you do this, it happens, and you move on. But with tape segments like that, you do take after take after take, and to make sure you get what you want recorded. But anyways, part 1 for the mic project is already up, and part 2 gets recorded tomorrow. So I have a few other things that are waiting for part 2 to occur, and physically I just wasn't able to continue for several months, but at least I'm getting back into it. Anyways, I think that's going to wrap it up for today. Quick and dirty. So new videos on the way. Get those posted, and projects ongoing. Design work to do for the Openlock system, which should be fun. And then of course we have our Friday night chats, and actually I don't know if any of you there are know what the topic is this week. I don't know, but I'll put a link in the description once we get off air. But always quite enjoyed the Friday night chats. This week is the North American one, So it is our nighttime. We will see you there, and I'll be back next Wednesday at 4 p.m. Pacific live. Have a good afternoon, guys.